why would we need another English translation of the Quran when there are already so many? And so I wanted to explain how many of the very common English translations of the Quran are actually quite misleading and even actively deceptive. And thus, the Critical Qur'an is an attempt to redress that problem and give non-Muslims an accurate view what the Quran actually says and how mainstream Islamic authorities interpret it. And so we can take, for example, the meaning of the Holy Quran, which is a translation from 1934 by a Muslim named Abdullah Yusuf Ali. And it is the most common translation of the Quran in the English language. And if you go in it to chapter 4, verse 34, it says, "Husbands are the protectors and maintainers of their wives, because Allah has given the one more strength than the other, and because they support them from their means. Therefore, the righteous women are devoutly obedient and guard in husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. As to those women on whose part you fear disloyalty and ill conduct, admonish them first, next refuse to share their beds, and last spank them lightly." So much for Abdullah Yusuf Ali. Now, actually, if you are familiar with the original Arabic text of the Quran, there are several problems with this. One is the word lightly does not appear. It doesn't say spank them lightly, and spank is a bit euphemistic because it gives the impression of a light striking such as one would give to a child, whereas the word is actually beat. And so in the Critical Qur'an, far more accurately, it says this: "Men are in charge of women because Allah has made the one superior to the other." You notice that the superiority was also not in Abdullah Yusuf Ali's translation. The idea of Abdullah Yusuf Ali's translation is to give non-Muslims the best possible impression of Islam, and that means to take out the parts that non-Muslims might find objectionable, not taking them out by actively removing them, but by obscuring them by how the translation is worded. So the Critical Qur'an is designed to do exactly the opposite of that, to give an accurate translation of the Arabic such that people can get a clear understanding of what it actually says. "Men are in charge of women because Allah has made the one superior to the other, and because they spend of their property. So good women are obedient, guarding in secret what Allah has guarded. As for those from whom you fear disobedience, give them a warning and banish them to separate beds and beat them." Beat them is actually what most of the translations into English say, and it does correspond more accurately to the Arabic. If you read Abdullah Yusuf Ali, you may not get the full extent of how the Quran teaches Muslims to treat women. And yet Muslims reading the Arabic of the Quran and knowing very well what it says, they treat women the way the Quran actually says to treat women, altogether too often. And so for that reason, it's important for non-Muslims to know and understand what the Quran actually says.